I split 100 ARK players across 4 primitive empires and let them battle to the death to see which civilization is the strongest of all. Will they make peace or will they wage war? This is 100 ARK players simulate primitive civilization in ARK Survival Evolved. First up, we have the Wooden Tribe. After spawning in, some of them went and tamed some hyenas. They also had set up some stone foundations and sent most of their players out to get resources. However, there were the odd few that set up their own camp to try and stay away from the team. Over at the Alpine Tribe, they spawned in and they started building some nice foundations as well as a small crafting station. They needed to seriously stay warm, so in order of that, they got some mammoths and made some fur. They also had a mammoth run into base and attack, however, they all grouped up as a good team and killed it with some crossbows and bows.
It's down.
Over at the Chalk Hills, they were not the most productive team, but some of their members did run out and they made a small crafting station with some fires. However, there were dangerous dinosaurs roaming nearby. The other few of their members, as they spawned in a ditch, decided to build a ladder up to get out for some reason. There was actually a cave to escape, but instead they decided to go for the parachute and ladder approach to escape. There's no reason behind this, but I guess they did what they did. The Redwood team was severely productive. They managed to tame some PTs, they started farming resources, and they made a big group and decided where they moved their base to. They decided to move to this large castle, where there was walls to defend. To move their players over to the castle, as the Redwoods are so dangerous, they had to move their players by one on a pterodon. Some building begun, and it was pretty productive at this point. Back over at the Alpine, their best bet was to tame a bunch of animals. They started taming wolves, and they were pretty successful with this. They had a few members die, but all was going well. The Alpine was getting pretty strong at this point, as they had a lot more tames than anyone else. One of their members had also tamed a mammoth. They also tamed Argies and started setting up spikes and gates around their base to give it some fortification. Some individual players also started taming rhinos. Over at the Woodlands base, they were making some solid progress. They tamed a bunch of hyenas as well as bred them, and they had a large stone base set up. There was a few issues, and one of them was they kept getting attacked by dinosaurs. The first dinosaur that came to attack them was a Carno. The Carno was waiting outside their base, trying to kill them. It ended up killing one player, but they were alright. A Bronto then moved into their base and started attacking as well. However, they were organised from the first attack and decided to move it into the water. They then surrounded the Bronto and started shooting it with arrows.
It's outside the back.
After some great communication, they then ended it. The Redwood players went to building and resource collection as their main option. Half their players went out to collect resources, the other half stayed in building. They were doing pretty well at this point, and they had some good stuff set up. Their main builder Ghost added areas in the walls in which they could shoot to defend. The Redwood team had set up some refining forges so they could get metal. They also started farming wood to fuel them. Their building was going very good, however, the one issue they had was dinos. They kept getting their PTs killed by various dinos like Carnos and Terrorbirds. Over at the Chalk Hills, they had set up their first base, however they quickly abandoned it and decided to make their second base. I don't know what was going through their mind at this point, but their players had nearly all died due to various natural hazards, and they then decided to start parachuting off the cliff. Don't know what was going through their mind, but they had one thing good, and that was their PT army. Completely useless, they had nothing going for them at all. But I guess it's Chalk Hills. Over at the Woodlands, a Carno ran into base and started killing their members. They were seriously struggling at this point. In the meantime, some of their other members killed an Alpha Rex, which was great for loot. A worse thing happened, a Rex came into base. Luckily, they had their gates up. It was alright, but the Rex was getting angry, and they decided on a plan. They'd try and trap the Rex with gates and knock it out. So, they got their members organised on top of the building and tried trapping it with PTs and some gates. The PTs led the Rex over to the side of the base, and they tried trapping it.
He killed it?
Oh, hyena.
Let's go!
They managed to get the Rex in the trap and finally knock it out with tranks. Over at the Alpine, they were doing pretty well. They had a lot of metal smelting, and they had a hell of a lot of tames. They had a bunch of Argies, Ankies, Wolves, and they even had some members going out to get biomes. Some of their players were doing various things. This guy, for example, just decided to go AFK for half an hour. But then he got straight back to work and started flying for no reason. The Redwood tribe was doing very well. They had a good base set up. They continued building. And One of their members decided to ride a monkey. But apart from that, the building was going great. They started setting up gates. Next up is the election stage. Each team would be asked to elect a leader to lead their future civilization.
These are for the people that want to be leaders. I'm letting you know that now. Leaders, you can stand on the smithy when you want to do your speech. Who's going first?
Me. I want to be leader because I want power and win the whole thing. That's why I want to be leader.
What's your policies gonna be?
Free loot everyone.
That's it.
And work hard and win the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Redwood tribe, we are in. Well, we're not a leader, but we need someone who can lead us into battle and not be afraid of death. We need a forward-thinking team. We need one that doesn't linger or waste time.
No, bro, no.
We need people. There's a lot of stuff to be done, and I believe that I may be able to do that as leader. But before I get asked what's on my agenda, top thing on there, remove friends.
Hell is right in my
Oh, okay, who's next?
people that say I want to be leader. I think it's
Let's not make one of the little kids leader, bro.
Hey, I can be leader. I can be leader.
Alright, I want to be leader because I want to win. I know that I'm probably the best in here. I want to organize this tribe. Yeah. I want to rank everything. Everyone has his own storage box, so no one's going to steal his shit. No dinos getting stealed. I'm going to organize everything. And we are going to win because we're gonna organize it. Understand it?
Yeah.
Alright. I'm already elected.
Didn't seem like organisation convinced the people. However, next up was ARK, a previous player.
Go get my... Wait, where's my water bottle? I'm gonna have a quick sip of water. Gotta have a nice liquidated throat here. Brothers and sisters of ARK, today we gather here to elect a leader for our tribe. Under my rule, our tribe will flourish. For we fight tooth and nail, uphill and down. We will have highs, we will have lows. But we will conquer all who oppose us. Whether that be one man or a whole army. Under my rule, we will conquer. But not only will we conquer, we will thrive. The Redwoods is a tough place, but we are here. We are alive because we are the grittiest, toughest bastards out there. If we get knocked down, I know we'll get back up. We will rise above, and if they want to fight, let them try. If anyone who can go beyond our despair, and if they succeed, they will face me. My name is Val Hazak. I am the eldest son of the Empress Black Veil Hazak.
To be elected leader because when we live on work, we're the most powerful and scary people in this server, and I fucking hate this because he's gonna win.
You go first.
Okay, so I know I'm pretty chill, to be honest. I'm not like a dick or anything. I'm not like a control freak. Like, I don't really care, like, if I'm being honest, but I like take everyone's opinion in and everything. Huh?
Shush.
I'm pretty chill. I take everyone's opinion in. I'm pretty smart. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm pretty realistic. If you heard me, I have pretty good ideas and everything. I'm good at building bases. I'm good at defense. I'm not like I just said. I'm not a control freak. I'm not gonna like, get mad or anything if someone wants to do something. I'm like open for suggestions, of course. And if someone wants to do it without my like consent thing, I'm not gonna get mad or anything. So I'm pretty chill. Yeah.
It's gonna be the most fire speech ever.
Oh god. As tribe leader, I vow we will win this. We will destroy every tribe. We will come out victorious for this event. And we will kill everyone.
Oh,
that
was so nice. 10 out of 10 speech.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. What I think of that is Lamb gets bullied.
The other guy, you should start now.
Meow.
Perfect.
Each of the Redwood leaders stood in different places, and the people then moved to who they wanted to be elected. Clearly, it was Val Hazak. He had loads of foes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your faith in me. Now, everyone, back to work.
Okay, who do we choose?
I choose the
let's
last
put
one.
I choose the last one.
Yeah, last one is best.
You got a pterodon.
Who's the last one? Is he Aztec?
He's Dutch as well, so.
No, I'm Aztec. I'm Aztec.
Last
guy was
pick the pasta guy then.
Next up was the building stage. Each team would have to build the best looking base they can, and the winner would get a big prize. The Redwood team seemed to be doing very well with this, as their castle was looking absolutely amazing. They'd set up a huge wall, as well as their players going out and gathering plant eggs to defend. The Redwoods were looking absolutely amazing. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, the Woodland players became very disorganized and moved their base location, so they had no leader. They didn't even have an election. But they had a new base, and they did have a lot of plant eggs set up to defend. So they might be disorganized, but they're doing pretty well. Some other Alpine members started setting up a new base location. They had gates round and a lot of spikes. This was a wyvern breeding center. They'd also set their base up in a cave. They had a bunch of wyvern eggs they gathered, and loads of metal smelting. They were doing very well at this point, and they had completely refurbished everything they had once before. The Redwood team's base was looking absolutely amazing. They had spikes up, they had plant eggs, they had gates, they had a large wall, and they blocked off the entire entrance to their base. And they also had a little baby monkey. As the borders have dropped, a player from Woodlands, HBK, decided to go over to Alpines with a silenced longneck and started shooting the wyverns they had. Little did they know, HBK was hiding in the snow and they had no idea where he was. He annoyed them for about half an hour straight. He kept doing damage. They were getting seriously confused at this point and really annoyed. HBK was doing his job to annoy people. He also pulled out a few nets and started netting their wyverns. I honestly do not know how they didn't find him, but they were seriously struggling.
Yeah, I'm going around looking for people to kill. If they're like by themselves.
Bro, the scope,
HBK nearly got a shot on one of their members and head scoped. Goes in for a net and kills one of their players. That's the end of him. He's dead. The wyverns, even after going straight past him, do not know where he was. He got a little bit scared and ran off. After a PT chased him, he ended up hiding inside a bush. They'd lost him once again. Over at the Redwood base, it was looking great. Their build was immense. They had loads of spikes, loads of gates, loads of defense, loads of plant decks, and a large wall. Also, the Redwoods went out and got their first wyvern, which was a good thing for them. Over at the Woodlands base, they'd set up some defense. They had a bunch of spikes, plant decks, gates, and even more plant decks, as well as a wall. They had a lot of tames and a lot of indie forges. They were pretty productive at this point. However, a lot of their players were out doing resource. So an Alpine player managed to sneak in, but he was killed. The Chalk Hills team was down to 5 players, and they decided to go into Redwood territory and set camp in the oil cave. They were down to 5 players, as nearly all of their players had died from natural cause, and a few woodlanders attacking. They'd set up a small stone base, but for the next 2 hours, I saw little to no progress within their team. The war stage was getting close, and the Alpine players were ready. They had a bunch of wyverns, gates set up, and they were in full defense mode. After that scare from HBK, they were not happy at all. We go back to HBK. He was able to free Alpine, but he needed to go back to his base and bulk up the resources for his plan to return back to the Alpine base. With a quick trip back, he was ready to return to Alpine for a final attack.
You're an adult now, Frieza. Come on, bro.
Pick him. You got him? Well, come to me. Come to me. Can I not just?
Whoa!
We just got blown up.
Yeah,
we just got blown, boys.
Yeah, we're getting ready.
Oh, wait, another guy. Run. Oh no, that.
Yeah, there's someone at our base, lad.
Our base, I've got a base. No, there's some dude killing all of our stuff.
There's a dude at the base.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, he's running out.
We need to go back to base.
There was some PvP going on in the Redwoods. An Alpine player moved in and tried attacking some Redwood members. They were not happy about this and tried starting to pick him with a PT. But the Alpine players knew where the Redwoods base was. This is not good at all. Next up was a full-blown raid. The Alpines had wyverns ready to go, and they were preparing. That was it. The Alpine players moved in with their wyverns and started attacking the Redwood players. The Redwood players only had one wyvern versus an army.
Oh yes, I see him.
Most of them were outside on PTs, and they then decided it was their best bet to let the one guy outside on the wyvern fight, and the rest of them run inside the base for safety. They also had to struggle to close all the gates so no ground attack could be launched. This was a big fight. The wyvern that the Redwoods owned started getting very low, and it even got netted. Alpine players then used C4 to blow up into the Redwoods main gate. This was not good. The Alpine players even started killing some of the Redwoods.
Let's go.
With no defense.
Got him. Nice.
It was not looking at all good for the Redwood tribe. The Alpine players started ganging up at the main entrance, ready to breach in on foot. As the wyverns were distracting, players on foot tried to breach. The battle continued. There was some wyvern PvP, 1 versus 4. However, something happened at the Alpine base. The Woodlanders were attacking. All the Alpine players fled from the Redwood base and moved straight back to their own.
Giga!
What?
Oh, what?
Outside.
A Giga was spawned in by the Woodlands. This was not good in the slightest for Alpine. They got raided once and were now getting raided again. All of their members moved their wyverns in and tried killing this Giga. The Giga got froze, stuck, and they managed to do what they needed to do. This was an intense battle, but the Alpines seemed to be taking the lead, even though the Woodland players had a Giga.
It's fucking wild, I'm coming down.
If we rage it and they kill the other people, that
Oh, it's nearly dead. It's nearly dead.
Oh, I'm dead.
No way. Alright.
After some serious fighting, the Giga was eventually killed, and the Woodlands no longer had their raid from the Alpine players. It seemed that now, as Woodlands had lost their Giga and Redwoods were seriously injured, the Alpine players were in the lead with their massive army of wyverns. They were ready for a comeback. They started rebuilding their main entrances. This was the beginning of a serious fight. The Woodland players started taming Rexes. They had to prepare for the raid that was coming for them. Little did they realise, Alpine members were going on top of their base with wyverns. Woodland players saw outside and got seriously scared. At this point, there was only 5 Woodland players left, and they had to go out and defend. They managed to net an Alpine wyvern, but it wasn't enough. Their Rex also couldn't bite the wyvern, as the cliff was in the way. The Rex managed to kill 1 wyvern, but they still were not looking the best, as Alpine had more and more wyverns they kept bringing in. The Woodland player moved on his Rex, tried killing as many as he can. They managed to make a small comeback, but the wyverns kept moving in and moving out. There wasn't really much the Woodlands can do. The greatest man on the server, Valhazark, from the previous video, flew on an RG with his Redwood members, and they tried making a comeback on Woodlands. He knew their base location, as an inside man working for the Woodlands gave it away. Valhazark was ready to attack. He didn't have much, but he did have a rocket launcher. Valhazark moved in solo, he had a ghillie suit. He first went up to the Woodlands base and started hiding, ready to launch his rockets. Valhazark crawled up in complete stealth. The Woodland players had no idea. All they could hear was rockets exploding. They did not know where, and they did not know who, but there were rockets. Valhazark managed to shoot the Plantex and take a significant amount of them out. He tried breaching the main entrance, but the metal gates were very strong. Valhazark moved out on his RG. He was quite stressed at this point, as he think they might have found him. Valhazark moved over to the main entrance and started hiding inside a bush. He then decided he'd try and make a run for it. He ran with his rocket launcher. However, a Woodland player saw He tried RPGing the Pantex, and the Woodland player was on him. He then got bowlered. Balhazar panicked, and he turned around and just fired a rocket. Unfortunately, it killed him, not the Woodland player. This was the end of the Red Wood tribe. Now, there was only Woodlands and Alpine. Alpine players then moved in with Wyverns. It was now a 5v1. An Alpine player moved to the entrance, and the one Woodland player was getting really stressed at this point. He tried moving out to pick, but it was unsuccessful. The Alpine player on the Wyvern started breath attacking, and the Woodlander had to go back inside the base. He moved out again to try and get another pick, completely unsuccessful. He managed to pick one of them though, and he brought him inside the base, attempting to get his animals to kill him. It didn't work. The two Alpine players were outside just camping. The Woodlander moved out, managed to pick, but he got whipped. The Woodlander netted the Wyvern, and both Alpine players were getting stressed as he just spawned in a Rex and killed the Wyvern. They both fell down the waterfall, and the Woodlander was following them. This was not looking good for the Alpine players. One of them moved inside the tunnel, while the other one hid in the waterfall. The Woodland player chased them down and killed the Alpine player hiding inside the tunnel. The Woodlander then turned round and realised one of the Alpine players was hidden inside the waterfall.
Just play along.
Oh, he's here. In the waterfall.
I see him.
He managed to move in there, bowler him, whip out a pistol, and kill him. Now, it was a 2v1. There was some more PvP. The Wooden player was getting shot by the Alpine player with a shotgun. He started dodging, but he then pulled out the Rex. The Alpine player got scared and ran off into the jungle to hide. It was actually looking pretty promising for the Wooden player, as he still had a Rex and all they had was a few Wyverns. The Woodland player then moved back into his base as he saw the Alpine player run in and tried to hide. This was a stupid move by the Alpine player, as the Woodlander had all of his tames inside the base ready to be on aggressive. That was it. He set his tames on aggressive and they went running after the Alpine player. They instantly killed his Wyvern, which was unconscious on the floor with cryo sickness. The Alpine player started running around the base, but the dinos were doing so much damage and they had Deinonychus on the lead. The Woodlander managed to close the gates and the Alpine player was completely stuck. There was Deinonychus inside the base and there was no escape for this player. He was guaranteed dead. This was a standoff. They were ready to fight each other, one-on-one. They both had bowlers and it was up to some ground PvP. After a few misses from each of them, the Alpine player managed to land a bowler and he had a shotgun on hand. The Woodlander dodged all of the bullets and managed to make a comeback. The Alpine player was then stormed by a bunch of aggressive dinos that the Woodlander owned, and his death was coming near. After 5 minutes of constant chasing, the Alpine player then moved over to the rocks, but hyenas managed to catch up to him and completely kill him. It was now a 2v1. The Woodlander managed to kill 3 Alpine players, and he wasn't even that much damaged. He then started PvPing another Alpine player at the front of the base. There was a shotgun and some bowlers. Managed to bowler the Alpine player. The Alpine player ran inside the base, and this was a mistake they should have learnt from before. The Alpine player was inside the base, and yet again, the Woodlander had closed the gate. He was completely stuck. There was no escape for him. He calls them over towards him, and all his Deinonychuses are ready waiting. However, the last Alpine player moves in with an army of Wyverns. They're ready to go in for the last final attack. They sit outside the base, camping and waiting for the Woodlander to come outside and fight. The Woodlander does a special move. He tricks the Alpine players into thinking the gate is open. In reality, he's placed C4 on the front entrance, ready for one of them to walk in. They fall right into the trap. The Alpine player waits there, trying to shoot bowlers, and he then does the stupid decision to walk inside the base. The Wyverns are now crashing against the door. There's no escape for the Woodlander, but there's also an Alpine player trapped inside. The Woodlander has C4 placed, and he initiates his plan to blow up these Alpine players for good. He runs back for cover, and the Alpine player takes the bait. It's now a 1v1. After 5 Alpine players, this Woodlander has killed 4 of them. He then runs out with aggressive Deinonychuses and tries killing the Wyverns that he's just netted. The last Alpine player is on top breath attacking. He's safe, but the other Wyverns are not. The Alpine player moves in and gets ready to breath attack. He then starts biting, and the Woodlander is completely stuck. There's no escape for him. The Alpine player keeps attacking and attacking and attacking, and the Woodlander is dead. This is it. The Alpine players have won. After 6 hours of grueling work and a 5v1, the last Alpine player managed to take back the victory and win this event. If you'd like to join this event, join the Discord in bio, and thank you to all the 100 players that participated in this 6-hour event. See you in the next one.